What if tonight is not just another night, but the night everything begins to shift for you? What if the answer you have been chasing is not hiding in a new job, a lucky break, or a phone call that still has not come, but in a word you speak with faith before you sleep? Stay with me, because what I am about to share could change the way you see lack, fear, money, and even your future. There is a psalm so full of peace, power, and promise that when you speak it with confidence, it begins to break the pressure of worry and awaken a new expectation inside you. And no, this is not about empty ritual. This is about alignment. This is about letting truth replace fear. This is about opening your heart before the night ends and letting your spirit hear what heaven has been saying all along. So do not scroll away. Listen closely, because before this message is over, you may find yourself stronger, calmer, and more ready than ever to receive what has been waiting for you. And the last part is something you truly need to hear, because it may speak directly to the battle you have been fighting in silence. In the beginning, everything changed when God spoke. Light came when the word was released. Order came when the word moved. What was empty did not stay empty once heaven spoke into it. That truth still matters now. Words are not small. Words shape atmosphere. Words guide thought. Words plant pictures in the heart. And what is planted deeply enough begins to grow. This is why you must be careful with what fills your mouth at night. If you repeat fear, your mind starts building around fear. If you repeat lack, your soul starts expecting lack. But when you speak truth, peace, and promise, something inside you begins to stand up again. Something broken starts healing. Something tired starts breathing. When you declare, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," you are not just reading an old line, you are pushing back against panic. You are reminding your spirit that you are not abandoned, not forgotten, and not cut off from supply. Let that sink in. You are not speaking into emptiness. You are speaking into your own heart, your own thinking, your own expectation. And when expectation changes, life begins to move in a new direction. Watch this all the way through, because the next part may explain why your nights have felt heavy and why the right words before sleep matter more than most people realize. Every word you speak is like a seed. Some seeds grow fear, some grow courage, some grow confusion, some grow peace. The heart receives what the mouth repeats. That is why nights matter so much. When the room gets quiet and the noise fades, your inner world becomes easier to hear. Worry often gets louder in the dark. Bills seem bigger. Delays feel longer. Unanswered prayers feel sharper. But that is also the moment when truth can go deeper if you let it. When you speak a psalm before sleep, you are not performing for anyone. You are setting the tone for your spirit. You are choosing what will sit in your mind while your body rests. And what rests in the mind often rises in the morning as expectation, courage, and direction. This is why repeating the promise matters, not because repetition is magic, but because repetition builds roots. It presses truth past surface emotion and into the deeper places where fear has been hiding. Little by little, the grip of anxiety weakens. Little by little, peace takes up more room. Little by little, you stop thinking like someone surrounded by closed doors and start thinking like someone being led, kept, and provided for. If this is speaking to you, keep listening, because the next truth may be the one your heart has needed for a long time. Money is often treated like a mystery, a master, or a threat. People fear it, chase it, cling to it, and lose peace over it. But when money becomes the center, peace disappears. When fear becomes the voice behind your choices, wisdom gets pushed out. What you need is not panic. What you need is proper order. Money is a tool. It moves through life. It comes, it goes, it circulates, it serves. It is not your God. It is not your identity. It is not your final answer. And the moment you stop bowing to fear around it, your heart becomes clearer. You start seeing with better vision. You handle what you have with more calm. You recognize opportunities you once missed because anxiety had your eyes locked on the problem. The psalm does not teach you to worship wealth. It teaches you to trust the one who leads, restores, prepares, and fills. That shift changes everything. Because when trust rises, fear loses strength. When gratitude rises, bitterness loses strength. When peace rises, desperate striving begins to loosen its grip. And often the first breakthrough is not outside you, it is inside you. It is the moment your soul stops saying, I am alone in this, and starts saying, I am led, I am held, I am not without help. Stay with me because what comes next is where many people miss the deeper meaning of the psalm. There is a reason those words carry so much comfort. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That line is simple, but it is not weak. It is quiet, but it is not small. It speaks of care, guidance, rest, protection, and supply. A shepherd does not lose sight of the sheep. A shepherd leads, watches, corrects, and brings them where they need to be. So when you speak that verse, you are declaring more than a wish. You are making a bold statement over your night. You are saying, I am not left to figure this out alone. I am not drifting without direction. I am not trapped in this season forever. And that matters because lack often begins as a feeling before it becomes a pattern. Fear paints the future dark. Faith turns on the light. Fear says there is not enough. Faith says God knows how to provide. Fear says the closed door is the end. Faith says the delay may be protection. Fear says nothing is changing. Faith says unseen things may already be moving. This is why speaking the psalm at night can be so powerful. It interrupts the wrong voice. It quiets the noise of panic. It returns your mind to a stronger center. And once your center changes, your posture changes. Once your posture changes, the way you walk into tomorrow changes too. And yes, that can affect every area of your life, including the practical things you have been praying over. Some people think faith means pretending the struggle is not real. That is not true. Faith does not deny the pressure, it speaks over it. Faith does not close its eyes to pain. It looks through pain and still believes God can lead through it. The psalm does not say there will never be valleys. It says you do not walk through them alone. That changes the whole feeling of the journey. You may still have bills, you may still have questions, you may still be waiting on the answer, but there is a difference between waiting with panic and waiting with trust. One drains you, the other steadies you. One makes you smaller, the other keeps your spirit open. That is why fear and faith cannot sit on the same throne in your heart for long. One will grow, one will weaken, and whatever you feed most will shape what you expect next. So feed your spirit with what is true. Feed it with what brings peace. Feed it with what reminds you that supply does not begin with what is in your hand. It begins with the one who leads your life. If you have been lying awake with your thoughts running in circles, this is your moment to break that cycle. Keep listening because the next piece is for the person who has felt like doors keep closing and nothing is making sense right now. Closed doors can feel like rejection, delays can feel like silence. Hard seasons can make you question whether anything good is still ahead, but not every closed door is loss. Not every delay is denial. Sometimes what feels like a stop is actually protection. Sometimes what feels like a setback is a redirection that will make sense later. Look at how often growth comes wrapped in discomfort. The season feels tight, the path feels unclear, the pressure increases, and yet beneath all of that, preparation is happening. You are being strengthened in places you did not know were weak. You are being loosened from old habits that would not serve the next season. You are learning endurance. You are learning patience. You are learning to trust before the full answer appears. That is not wasted time. That is forming time. And when you speak the psalm in a waiting season, it keeps your heart from turning bitter. It keeps your soul from collapsing inward. It reminds you that still waters and green pastures are part of the story too, not just the valley. So do not mistake pressure for abandonment. Do not mistake the slow season for the end of the road. Sometimes heaven is doing deep work where eyes cannot yet see. And when the moment comes, what looked delayed may suddenly move fast. If you have ever felt like God was quiet while you were struggling, the next part is something you need to hear. Often, before something changes around you, it starts changing within you. You feel a stirring, a restlessness, a sense that you cannot stay the same. The things that once held your attention begin to feel too small. The old comfort no longer comforts you the same way. There is a stretching happening. And at first, it can feel confusing. You may think something is wrong because you feel unsettled. But sometimes that holy discomfort is a sign that your spirit is being prepared for more. It is not always loud. Sometimes it is just a deep sense that you cannot keep living at the level where fear used to manage your decisions. You know you need to trust more deeply. You know you need to move differently. You know you need to stop shrinking your life around old disappointments. That inner shift matters because what you carry inside affects what you are able to step into outside. This is why the night matters. In the quiet, you can hear what the rush of the day tries to drown out. You can sense what needs to be released. You can recognize what no longer fits who you are becoming. And as you speak the psalm, line by line, it begins to clear space. It pushes out heaviness. It restores perspective. It tells your heart, lift your eyes. You are still being led. Do not leave now, because the next part may explain why resistance has been stronger right before the thing you have been praying for. Sometimes the greatest resistance shows up just before a real shift. Doubt gets louder, distractions increase, weariness hits hard. You start second guessing what you once believed. That is why you must guard your focus. Not everything that fights you is proof that you are off track. Sometimes resistance shows up because you are closer than you think. Sometimes the pressure rises because your faith is about to grow past the place where fear once ruled. And if you do not understand that, you may quit right before the breakthrough begins. This is why the word matters. This is why you must answer the voice of fear with something stronger than emotion. You answer it with truth. You answer it with steady declaration. You answer it with what anchors your soul when your feelings are unstable. When the night tries to fill your mind with worst case pictures, speak the psalm. When worry says nothing good is coming, speak the psalm. When your heart feels tired and heavy, speak it again. Not because you are pretending everything is easy, but because you are refusing to let darkness tell the whole story. This is how inner strength is built. This is how the spirit becomes steady in a shaking season. And yes, this is how many people walk into peace before the visible answer even arrives. What I'm about to say next is important, so stay with me. At some point, faith asks you to move. It asks you to trust before every detail is visible. It asks you to take a step when your mind still wants 10 more signs. And that is hard because comfort always argues for delay. Fear always says, wait longer. Doubt always asks for more proof. But many breakthroughs happen when someone finally says yes to the next step they already know they need to take. Maybe for you it is starting again. Maybe it is letting go. Maybe it is applying, calling, building, apologizing, forgiving, saving, giving, or walking away from what keeps draining your peace. Whatever it is, faith does not always begin with a giant leap. Sometimes it begins with one simple act of obedience, one clear decision, one brave prayer. One night where instead of feeding panic, you feed your spirit truth and then rise the next day with a different posture. Do not underestimate small obedient steps. They open space for bigger things. They break patterns that have kept you stuck. They show your own heart that fear is no longer in charge. And when fear stops running the show, clarity gets stronger, courage gets cleaner, vision gets sharper. That is when doors you could not force may begin to open in ways you did not expect. Keep going, because we are coming to the part that ties this whole message together. What if the real shift begins when you stop chasing in panic and start receiving in peace? What if the answer is not more striving, more overthinking, more midnight fear, but more trust, more clarity, more alignment with truth? The psalm brings you back to center. It reminds you that goodness can still follow you, mercy can still find you, rest can still return to you, provision can still meet you, and even in front of trouble, a table can still be prepared. That is the kind of language that breaks hopelessness. That is the kind of truth that puts strength back in weak places. So tonight, when the room gets quiet and the mind tries to wander into fear, do not give the night to panic. Give it to prayer. Give it to truth. Give it to the words, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Speak them slowly. Speak them with calm. Speak them until the pressure starts losing volume. Speak them until your breathing settles. Speak them until your soul remembers who leads you. And if this message is reaching you right now, do not just hear it, hold it, use it, return to it tonight. Because peace is not far from you, and the God who leads through valleys still knows how to lead into overflow. And let me leave you with this. The change you need may not arrive all at once with thunder and noise. It may begin quietly. A calmer spirit, a clearer thought, a fresh idea, a timely conversation. A door that opens after many that closed. A burden lifting little by little. A new strength rising where you used to feel weak. Do not despise the quiet beginning. Great things often enter gently before they grow large. Keep your heart open. Keep your mouth filled with truth. Keep your mind turned away from fear and back toward promise. And when you speak the psalm tonight, do not speak like someone begging from far away. Speak like someone who knows they are seen, led, and cared for. Speak like someone expecting peace to enter the room. Speak like someone expecting wisdom for tomorrow. Speak like someone refusing to let fear write the next chapter. Because the night does not belong to panic, the future does not belong to despair, and your life is not defined by this moment of pressure. You are still being led, you are still being shaped, you are still being carried through what you do not yet understand. So rest tonight with faith, speak with confidence, sleep with trust. Wake with expectation and believe that what has felt delayed is not dead. What has felt closed is not the end. And what has felt heavy will not last forever. Something can shift and it can begin tonight.